Hey, everybody, we want to welcome you to Heart with Dan and Angela.
Hi, everyone.
And today we have an interesting talk we wanted to share with you. And it has to do with, are Jehovah's Witnesses worshiping Jehovah, or are they vastly and quickly being plugged into AI? And I personally think, from what I saw at the convention and Angela saw, they're vastly being plugged into AI. I think AI eventually will even replace the governing body. Right now, you know, like when we were at the assembly, they said they watched 70 videos. That's AI, that's artificial intelligence.
That's what we were told by an elder there.
Yeah. Yes, and the reason AI is so powerful is because there's animation, there's music, it moves the soul, you know what I mean? Especially that drama where they were all running for their lives and listen to Jehovah. And it's also easier to watch a movie than to watch men, especially men now that are babbling. And the reason I say they're babbling, I think of Stephen Lett. I think when he said we're at the time of the end of the end of the end, or you remember how he said that?
Yeah.
The last days of the last days. You know, and that's just babbling. And the reason he's babbling is because he really has nothing more to say. So why are they being plugged into AI? I'm going to tell you why. Because you don't have, you really don't get sued with AI. You know, like, I'm going to give you an example of Scientology. Also, Seventh-day Adventists went AI.
And artificial intelligence, for those of you who don't, just in case.
Yes. And I got to tell you about, when I left the Witnesses, I was on my search for that greatest truth. You know how it is, Angela. You got to find the truth again. Somebody has the truth. One of these religions has the truth. So you run from church to church and place to place, and you're like, where are you? Where's the truth? Where's the truth? And
where's our family?
Where's
our new family?
Yeah, and you come into these dead end roads. There's always some ornery pastor, and here's our youth pastor, and we're told to govern over you. And we said we already came out of all that bullshit. The guys would look at me like, what? I said, you know how many people I've had between me and God? Circuit overseers, presiding overseers, governing body, people I never even met were running my life. You know what I mean?
And you're like, and I'm not doing that again.
Yeah. So I wanted to tell you guys something. I want to give you an illustration to show and to prove that Jehovah's Witnesses, beyond any shadow of a doubt, are being plugged into AI, artificial intelligence, and why. I want to prove it to you. And I got to say this in the very beginning. The reason all of this is happening, the reason every bit of this is happening, why they're being plugged into AI, is they're following men. The Bible says, do not, think about this, do not, hello, witnesses, whoever, right? Seventh-day Adventist, Scientology. Do not put your trust in who? L. Ron Hubbard at Scientology, Taze Russell. Look at these churches and their founders. Do not put your trust in nobles, nor the sons of earthly men, who no salvation belongs. Because you do, you suffer under the hand of men. And what does the Bible say about men? Men would dominate men to their injury. Jesus said, if you follow men, blind guides, you're going to end up in the pit. And so this is what's happening. So witnesses, they've made all the promises they can make. Generation, the generation prophecy, the overlapping generation, it just goes on and on, right? There was 3 more, I think, past then that I don't even know about. But now they're babblers. So now they got to bring in animation, motion pictures, and all these things as fast as they can. But I got to tell you about Scientology. I had a little stint with Scientology. A well-meaning friend of mine, he was into Scientology. And I wouldn't say he was a Scientologist. He had just got the auditing, where they put you on the ohm meter, right?
Which is a lie detector.
Yeah, it's like a lie detector. They call them cans, and you put your fingers in there, and they ask you, did you ever, and this thing goes like this. And then if it reads way over, it means you've got to clear that out. And so there's a practitioner, if you will, that's running the ohm meter. And they say that they ask you just a variety of questions.
And the whole idea is that sometimes things that you've done or things in your past are hidden. And so it'll come up that you're lying on the lie detector. And so that you've got to clear that. And so, there might be something you need to go look at. And so there's something about that question that I tend to have, there's a secret there and I need to get to the bottom of it. So they're going to clear you and make you a whole powerful, strong person by you becoming clear.
Yes. And that's what happened.
Sinless,
Yeah. And even more than that, successful beyond measure. You're going to be like Tom Cruise, John Travolta. You're going to be like all these Scientologists that were bought and paid for. They have interviews on Tom Cruise, and they show how he was bought by Scientology. If we could just get this man as a spokesman and give him cars and give him things and get him as a spokesman, we can get millions of people in.
Yeah, I remember this one movie we saw where, he wanted a woman and okay, there you go. And he got her. I'll get you, we'll get you that woman. Yeah, it's sick.
So I gotta tell you about my little stint with Scientology and this AI and how it's so similar to Jehovah's Witnesses and why it's so frightening. Because as you know, many in Scientology have been held hostage by their auditing, meaning they've told secrets. Did you ever have a girlfriend? Did you ever have an affair? And some of this stuff's recorded.
Oh, it's all recorded.
And the Scientologists use this against those people that were once in when they try to leave. And so they're held hostage. Well, the Watchtower is becoming that very thing. And I got to tell you, so I go into this Scientology. My friend says, hey, I've got a special class for you. And I was really into learning and becoming, I was going to be successful now. I'm out of the.
He's going to go turn over every rock. Okay.
Yeah, I'm turning over every rock. I want to be successful. I want to get back with the Lokes of Eaton. I want to get back some of my life that I gave to Watchtower 40 years. And so there was this course that was very appealing, just like the Witnesses, right? Paradise tomorrow. You don't have to endure any of this. This world, tomorrow it's gone. And so my carrot in the Scientology was a free class called Success Through Communication. And so I was so excited to go in there. So I walked in there, and it's like this room, and a room full of AI. There were headsets, there were volumes and volumes and volumes. In fact, they say the Scientology guy could fill up, I think, the Empire State Building with books and literature. Knowledge, right? Knowledge puffs up, right?
Do you mean by all the auditing that they've done?
No, all of his literature.
Okay.
He wrote. He's a genius in some level, but he's nuts on another level. Oh, so anyway, I go in there and I'm thinking, what are all these, like programs? Programs, hello, Witnesses program. We're going to listen to the program. And so I go into this room and I'm looking around and there's nobody there. And I'm looking, it's programs, $25. And I thought, boy, that's good. That's really cool. Wow, success through this, and they had this thing called the bridge to enlightenment, that you would become enlightened. You'd be connected to God, connected to source. I and the Father are one. You'd have this source connection. And that was the promise of Scientology. And then you could accomplish anything. You could be as successful as you want. So this lady came up to me and she said, Dan, if you just had some auditing, you'd be amazing. You'd be incredible. And I said, yeah, what does it cost? She said, have you refinanced your home? And I said, refinance my home? Like, are you talking for 10,000 or 20? She goes, that would be a wonderful start. And so, anyway, I didn't do that. I didn't do it. She gave me some free auditing with the cans, the ohm meter. And anyway, that passed. But anyway, I'm in this building, this Scientology building, and I start glancing the tape. So I go a little further up and I see $150, on one of the recording tapes that you listen to. And then I looked over there and I saw one for 12,000 and I saw one for 20,000 and 30,000. And I swear, and 50,000. And I said, sir, are these like actual pictures or prices? And he goes, yeah, that's when you're into the thetas. And I said, what's that? He said, don't worry, just go to your class.
Boy, that means that, you're thinking to yourself, boy, when I get myself clear and clean, then I'm going to be so full of riches that I can afford to pay that money for that next class that I gotta have.
And my buddy used to say, boy, if I just had $100,000, I'd take this and take that course. And I went, whoa. So it's a big money-making outfit like Watchtower's turning into. And so anyway, so they tell me to go in the back, and guess what the back was called? The org. Guess where the place you go to get taught in
that's so weird.
In the Mormons. You go to the org. They say we're going back to the org.
Oh,
and now you got JW.org,
oh my
Scientology
gosh.
Org,
That's
Mormon
weird.
Org. It's weird, isn't it?
Yeah, the devil's org.
Yeah, but it's almost like
Anything
they're
org
being
is devil.
led by the nose.
Yeah.
All of them. You're an org,
Yeah.
And so I go back to the org, and it's kind of freaky. It's kind of weird.
Ew.
Their first thing I was told to do is take a seat, and there were two chairs facing each other. I face this way, and there's a chair facing this way, and it was like this all the way down. And I went, wow, as far as your eye could
Yeah,
see.
in other words, there's people sitting in chairs all the way down with people facing them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, but these were empty except the ones I was doing right now, but they were just empty chairs where you could see that a lot of people do this all the time.
But did you see somebody doing
Yeah.
one? Okay.
So I looked down at the end, and there's some guy pacing back and forth, and some guy telling them what to do. And I look in this thing, and there's a guy in the headsets, and he's going like this in this little glass room. And I was like, man, this is kind of freaky. So anyway, the lady comes up, really nice lady. She said, sir, take a seat. And she hands me this stuff. And she says, I need you to just fill this out. And so I said, okay. So I started writing my name, address, and phone number. No joke. I turned the page, and it said, put your name, address, and phone number, and so I wrote my name, address, and phone number. And then I turned the page again, and it says, write your name, address, phone number. And I called the lady over. I said, ma'am, come here. I said, this thing has asked me over and over and over to write your name, address, and phone number. And I did. She goes, okay, yeah, that's enough. That's it. And I'm thinking, why in the hell did I write my name? Just freaky, And so she goes, okay, you're ready to start. Let me go get John or Bob or whoever. So they sat some guy in front of me, right in front of me, in the chair in front of me. And she goes, all you got to do is just sit there and don't move. And I'm thinking, okay. She goes, close your eyes. And she said, just sit there like this and don't move, and I'll be back. It says, if you move, you fail. And I said, okay, I'm not going to move. So you couldn't be codependent, on the person in front of you. You had to be just.
Oh, she's sitting watching you?
The guy is.
Okay.
Bob or John is watching me. He's some guy she's called out from the back.
But thankfully, Dan's already been used to sitting in the silence and meditating.
I could meditate for a week. I could sit in the silence for days.
And not move, except for you got to go to the bathroom.
Yeah. So I sat there like this, for like, I don't know, hell, it was like 45 minutes.
Wow.
And the lady comes back and taps me on the shoulder and smiles at me and said, you failed. And I said, failed? How did I fail? She goes, you moved. I said, I didn't move. And she goes, yeah, you moved. I go, I didn't move. And I'm like, and I'm thinking, I said, what the hell does this have to do with communication? What's this got to do with, see, what it had to do with was obedience
and control.
And control. Even the writing my name over and over and over. Would I write it 20 times?
Yeah,
or
without questioning.
Yeah. How long before I would stop
Right.
and say, hey, I've had enough.
Yeah.
And so that she failed me. And I says, I'm not going to accept that. And I'm not going to come back here because I don't have time for shit like this. And so I looked at the next course. In the next course, the next part of the course, which I didn't go to, was you're going to sit in front of the guy with your eyes open and not move for 20 minutes.
Can't let your eyes twitch.
Yeah, or anything.
Yeah.
You're going to blink, but anyway.
Oh, didn't they say you can't blink?
No, you can't hold your eyes for 40 minutes without
true.
blinking.
Yeah.
So it was just, you couldn't move, you couldn't get uncomfortable, you couldn't act, just kind of look around. You just had to just be like this, staring at the guy. So anyway, that was the second class that I never attended. And it was kind of like that. I thought, man, what's this got to do with communication? So while I was in there, I asked the lady, I said, can I just ask you, what is that guy doing down there? There's a guy ordering him. He told him, go over to the wall and touch the wall. And the guy walked over to the wall and touched the wall. And he goes, thank you. He goes, walk over to the other wall and then touch your toes. And he walked over the other wall and he touched his toes. And the guy goes, thank you. And they just kept doing this. It went on for 20 minutes.
Yeah.
And I said, can I just ask you what they're trying to do with that guy? What's happening? And they said they're trying to get him present. They're trying to get him present. And I thought, what the hell's that? Yeah, you know what I mean? I was like, whoa, this is too much. Then I looked over there and there's the guy in the headphones. And I thought, they're all being programmed in here. You know what I mean? So then I'm like, I got to get out of here. I got to escape, really wasn't that bad, but I didn't know how the hell to get out of there. I'm back in the org in the back, and so I'm working my way out, and sure as hell, one of the guys that, my friend told me about, the one who he knew, caught me at the door. Dan, and he has these bugged out eyes. And he's like, Dan, how are you doing? Like this. And I go, I'm doing okay. I said, didn't enjoy that in there. Did not enjoy that. That was bad. And so he said, well, come in here, Dan, come in here. And he's looking at me in the eye, come in here, Dan. And I sat down with him and he's looking at me like this. And I'm just kind of looking down. And I said, you know, when I was in the class, he goes, Dan, hello, Dan, you know, and I'm like, yeah. And he goes, now we're in communication.
Oh,
You know, and he had some kind of terminology, you know, all the terminology, SPs and
Sounds
this
like
and that.
manipulation. to
Yeah,
me.
he had names for everybody. Anybody that didn't comply with Scientology, like Watchtower, they had a name for him. So he's like, now we're in communication. Now tell me what's happening in the room. And I said, well, I went in this room and this happened and that happened. And he smiled and he goes, yeah, that's part of communication, that you're able to hold your composure and this and that. And anyway. Yeah.
It's like, go touch the wall, go touch your foot. Okay, go back and touch the wall. Go over there, go over there. You know, and they're just trying to get you to be extremely obedient.
Obedient.
Yeah.
It was obedience and programming, because see, the courses too, to be on the bridge to enlightenment, to awareness, full
We
awareness.
always talk about the bridge.
Thetas, OTs, you know, and all this stuff. You know, you had to take these courses and you had to pay for the courses.
Yeah.
So you had to do whatever you took. If you wanted to get the badge, if you wanted to get the star that said I graduated from suppressive personality, an SP to a whatever, an OT or whatever the hell they say, you had to take these courses, right? And so there were all these badges and little things that went along with it. But I got out of there and my head was spinning. I thought, man, that guy that met me at the door was insane. He didn't even seem normal.
His eyes were bugged out.
Yeah, his eyes were bugged out. He had all this language of Scientology. And
Yeah.
I mean, he even tried to crucify Angela.
Yeah, well, that wasn't your friend later on that was trying to crucify.
No,
Oh,
it was
that
that
guy
guy.
too?
That guy.
He hadn't even met
He was
me.
trying to break me up from Angela.
Oh, my
When I was in there, I said, yeah, I have a girlfriend. And I think Dave told
him
him
about
Angela. And he's like, no,
Right.
that's not the girl for you. And I don't remember what he
she's
said.
an SP is what he said.
Yeah.
I remember
Yeah,
exactly.
and I said, what's that? And they had labels for everybody,
Suppressive
million
personality.
labels. And I went, whoa. And he goes, you know, you really got to look at her and you really got to, you know, and it was like, whoa. I mean, they were trying to destroy
You
us.
can't imagine all
like,
the
like
things
your
we had
mother did
against
with
us.
me.
Yeah.
Like your mother.
Just-
He's not one of us.
He
He's
doesn't keep
bacon.
this, and he doesn't keep the sabotaging. You know, you're not helping to get her back in the truth.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, oh God.
And so I can say that is what Watchtower is doing. They got them hooked up to the iPads, right? They got them hooked up now from iPad to governing body. And pretty soon they're going to be hooked from iPad to television, which they probably can do now, to the media center that they're building, right? If they ever get it off the ground, if they don't get their asses sued, you know, so much. So they've got a massive programming thing going on, right? Just like Scientology, just like the Seventh-day Adventists. Like we said before, the Seventh-day Adventists do not have to go to church. They've got a disc. They've got their own satellite dish. They actually give them one as a member. I don't know if they give them or you buy one, but my father-in-law offered me a dish. Let me give you a dish. And it's all Seventh-day Adventists, 24/7, around the clock, talks and, you know,
It's their own
singing.
TV. It's their own TV.
It's their own world.
Yeah, their own world.
And so Watchtower is following suit. Watchtower is trying to create their own world. They've already had me in their own world for 40 years. They had Angela in the Worldwide Church of God for how many years?
Well, that's okay. It
But
doesn't
anyway.
matter about that because I got into another cult after that. I'm just
Yeah.
I'm free from cults, yay. But anyway, I was in 2 cults.
So I'm just thinking, okay. So these guys are fastly hooking them up to AI. And I'm telling you, when we were at the assembly, and I know we've talked about this, that the 80-year-olds, 17 and 80-year-olds knew how to work that iPad as fast as a 17-year-old, didn't they?
Oh yeah.
They were just,
Oh yeah.
you know, like this, and you know, just paying attention, and they have the fear rolling. The fear is what's pushing them. Pay attention to org. Pay attention to org. Yeah, you know, they're going this way. They're going that way. They're like the Merkaba. They're going up. They're going down. Pay attention. Pay attention. Jehovah's organization's on the move, and then they've got the fire drills going up, all while in the process of stealing them blind. And they are stealing them blind. I know so many people that have given their wealth to Watchtower. Why would you give your wealth to Watchtower? Why would you give your home that you worked your whole life to Watchtower instead of your children? Why wouldn't you help your children in a world that we live in where it's hard to get ahead? It's hard to, you know what I mean? You've worked your whole life. Maybe your daughter's built your whole life, but Org says, you know, Jehovah could use your house. Jehovah could use your land. What do you have as an offering for Jehovah? What do you want to give to Jehovah? They've asked for motorhomes. They've asked for your homes. They've tried to steal people's homes. I know people that they tried to steal their homes. And so I'm just thinking, while they're under mind control, this is what's interesting. The programming is what's taken you into mind control. And witnesses are paying dearly. They're paying a hell of a lot of money for the hope of paradise earth. That price keeps going up. I mean, they've stole most of their kingdom halls. You know what I mean? People who have built kingdom halls with their own hands, and people that have donated from their heart, thinking that they're donating to Jehovah, that they're helping Jehovah's organization. And these men just sell them right out from under them. I mean, I think it's interesting during COVID that the governing body had the power, think about this, had the power to keep the witnesses home for 2 years. 2 years. Now, here's what's interesting. I understand the government saying, you know, we can't meet together. And so witnesses were complying, even though they said they'd never stop meeting together.
Yeah, and it says in the Bible, and they push it too, so does my church, that don't forsake the gathering of yourselves together, as some, you know,
Yeah.
find
They beat us with it. That scripture was beat.
and the idea was, because it says after that, you know, because you don't want to be isolated. That's the whole idea of that scripture. So but what are they doing now? Isolating people.
That's right. And that was what was interesting when me and Angela visited that hall. We asked the brothers, you know, is this the first time you've been back? They said, yeah. I said, so, you know, did you guys visit each other outside of here? It's interesting, that little stat.
Yeah,
Okay. But anyway, they said no, we have not seen each other for 2 years. And I think Watchtower had the power to quarantine 7 million, 8 million people for 2 years. And now here's the funny thing. The government said you could go back to the Kingdom Hall. And I asked my uncle this, who was in Elmer. I said, you were told, you were ordered not to go, and you obeyed, right? You obeyed man as ruler over God. You shut her down. And then you were told to go back, and you didn't go back for another year. Now, we all know why they didn't go back. We know they were busy monopolizing, selling property, selling off kingdom halls, and everything else they could.
Right, because think of this, Dan, you know, they were going to school every day and seeing their friends at school.
Yep.
But you're not allowed to see your own brothers, you know, like your brothers in the Lord. You're not allowed to see your brothers to encourage each other, but you can see your friends at school.
Yeah.
You have to go to the grocery store, to the bank. You see people all day long, but you can't see your own friends.
And they said we did not see each other.
Right.
I said, come on. I mean, you didn't go to dinner. You didn't go to dinner?
No.
No, never went to dinner. I said, no. And I couldn't believe it. You know what I mean?
I know.
And so I just,
that's control.
So I'm thinking, man, these false prophets have asked for their literature back. They recalled their literature, all their channeled literature, and it is channeled. And the reason I say it's channeled, which means spirit brought, right? They said that Jesus has appointed them over all their belongings. So they're the mediator.
They're truth for those.
They're the medium to this channel. They're the mediator, the medium. And so they get the information from somewhere out there, right? It's channeled in through the governing body, and then it goes into the Watchtower, and then it comes down to you and me.
It's funny how they use that word belongings. Dan, just for those for worldwiders watching, belongings means the truths of God, the special information. That's what this is. It's like crazy. Weird words. It's like loaded language, cult language, you know, belongings.
Yep. So it's interesting. It's interesting that the people have eyes that cannot see and ears that cannot hear. And they'll do anything for governing body. Anything. That is what is scary. Anything for governing body.
Which is kind of like worshiping.
And just the fact right now that they're preaching falsehood, you know, that they've preached false testimonies, right? 75. I only go back to 75 because that's when my dad was all in. And, you know, I know it goes back 100 years, but 75 was big and it passed. They didn't acknowledge it, right? The generation prophecy was big, it passed. The overlapping generation, big and passed. And they don't care. And what's interesting is Angela was there, but I was talking to this brother at the assembly, and I know I mentioned this before, But I asked him about 75, and he said this: never happened. Never happened. What are you
That's what
talking
he
about?
said.
You must be talking about people in California or somewhere.
I heard him.
You know, and I went, no, it happened. I watched it happen with my dad. I watched him become discouraged. It happened. And the generation happened. I was in the generation prophecy. What happened? He said.
And you know what?
Totally.
He said he'd been in, I think he said 26 years. So of course he knows all about it. So what happened there? Compartmentalization, flat out lying.
Yeah, flat
What?
out lying. I
think
thought
lying.
liar.
Yeah.
I thought liar. I think somebody said on YouTube that he must have thought you were recording him or
Apostate
something. But he goes, no change. There no generation
Nothing's
prophecy.
changed.
And there was no overlapping generation. Same prophecy. My uncle said the same thing. My
You just said it's been
uncle,
altered a little bit or something like
yeah,
that.
he said it just was adjusted a little bit brighter or something. But he said nothing's changed.
No,
Nothing's
that's what he
changed.
said.
75, nothing's changed. And completely all out lied. He lied about disfellowshipping.
Yeah.
And I think this is scary. I think this is scary because now they're being programmed to something that's even more advanced than men, and that's AI. AI is very powerful. It involves all the senses, right? So an example of that is like a movie theater, right? When you go to the movie, you're not there, but you're in the movie and you're crying, right? You're scared for a moment. You know what I mean? Like in the Jehovah's Witnesses, somebody died in there and they were crying, and the next scene you're being chased and you're scared, you're running, adrenaline.
Yeah, it really sears it into your mind.
Yes.
And I want to tell you, Dan and
That's
I,
another level above the convention.
it sure is.
The dramas.
Yes, that's why they have them that way, because they figured out that really, really sears it into your mind very, very well. It's powerful. And so, you know what, Dan and I went to a movie not too long ago, and Indiana Jones movie, whatever that new one is. And anyway, there was the only tickets we could get were this one that it's all senses
full
involved.
spectrum or something.
Yeah, full spectrum, I think. So anyway, we were sitting in there, and all of a sudden you felt like this psh on your leg, and it felt like somebody like sliced your leg, and powerful air. It was really always
Seats
weird.
were moving,
Yeah, seats were
your-
moving, and air is blowing at you sometimes, like your hair is blowing, and I mean, all the senses were being involved, just so that you will just really, it hits home like that was real. And it was very weird. They're getting more heavily involved in making sure it's seared into us.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And just like you see what's happening in Scientology, people's lives have been destroyed because of that, because of their involvement in following men. You don't have to follow your men. Even your most spiritual people that have been cast out of the church. You know what they said? Bow your head. Just bow your head in humility. Worship in spirit and truth. Because witnesses are too lazy to actually bow their head and talk to God, talk to Jehovah, talk to whoever, I won't even use Jehovah, whatever. But because they just won't do that simple act, that they think they got to have a medium, a mediator, people that channel, they're going to end up in the pit. The Bible says, flee from Babylon the Great if you don't want to be a part of her destruction. I can't help but think of 9/11, right? When the people were still in the building, what happened to the building? The building came down on them, right? And so I feel sorry for the witnesses that they're in that construct, the Jehovah's Witnesses construct, because when Jehovah's Witnesses finally crumbles, which they will, right? They're being sued.
Organization, yeah.
They're losing their status all over the world. It's being taken away. I think they've got an F rating on what they're doing with their charitable status. There's a new channel out. I wish I could remember it. It's a YouTube channel. It's kind of set up like the news. And the guy did a video. So he said, is Jehovah's Witnesses going broke? And it was really good, really in depth, really covered a lot of facts. And then he did another one about the charitable status and how they have this rating. Jehovah's Witnesses have a rating, and it says, before you contribute to these ones, read this. Think about that. That's all over the internet.
Countries or our country?
No, it's for the charitable thing, for a charitable status. Yeah.
Okay, so an F rating international.
Yeah.
Wow.
Before you put any money, read this, because they're not giving any, what do they call it?
You tell about your financial situation.
Yeah, exposure. They're not giving any clarity.
Yeah, you're supposed to, if you're a good corporation, like when you give charitably to any organization, you really should research to make sure that they have a good rating with regard to how they give their information year after year, their financial reports. And apparently the Jehovah's Witnesses refuse to be open booked. You know, here's our books, here's how we're doing, here's the money that we spent here, there, and everywhere. Dan and I were at several different meetings at the Seventh-day Adventist Church in Idaho, in one of their locations, and they always gave the books. We just so happened to go to 2 different meetings, and I studied that real carefully, and I found some problems. And I remember bringing it up. What's this? You know, but yeah, you know, they give out full disclosure, but that also could get them in trouble. Well, you know, who's going to read them, right? But I decided to read these guys' books, and there was problems anywhere inside of there. So think what the witnesses, what that would expose about them. You guys might not ever want to give another dime if you saw what all they have. And then another thing that they're doing all over the board is these organizations are starting small little other side businesses within, so that they can hide money in these small corporations that are kind of offshoots, like
hundreds of them,
yeah,
thousands.
Yeah. And the witnesses are one of those kind of people that does that. I know the Worldwide Church of God, definitely. Stanley Rader was the guy that did the finances, and he had some, I remember it was this list of at least 8 companies that he was running. And I just found it a real live example of it. They used to have this thing called the Feast of Tabernacles. It was like your conventions in the JWs. And so they needed to have all kinds of camping gear. So it sounds like he started a camping gear type company. So you bought all your gear that you didn't bring with you right there at the campus in Big Sandy, Texas, so you could have the camping things that you needed. And my friend said it was way higher than the normal prices you get in town, but they thought, oh, we're giving to the organization, so therefore we're serving God and his, so we'll go ahead and pay the extra money. But see how that's taking advantage of the people? And it was a special company just for that purpose. So it's just hiding money. All these companies they're hiding the money instead of going into the worldwide. It's going into these side companies, and they're making you feel like worldwide's getting that money, but I don't think so. I think it went straight to Stanley Rader. That's what I think.
Yeah. You know,
anyway, correct.
And I had mentioned a while back too that, you know, while witnesses are under hypnosis, you know, they're under, you know, governing body hypnosis. They've used the Bible and they've said, this is what Jehovah says. I mean, it doesn't matter. But basically what they're doing now is, according to this guy, he said they're actually setting up the organization. So they have like a, I don't know what it's called, a membership fee. Like each person of the family has to pay $50. And they want so much a year, so much a month for the Kingdom Hall. And they want so much a child for the literature. And I'll try to find that video.
I know, I just heard about this too the other day. I'm like, what?
Yeah. And
wow,
it's really getting crazy. But what they're doing is, because they're waking up, they're getting sued on one end. They're losing their charitable status over here. They've got this F or D- rating. It's a really low rating. That's embarrassing for a charitable group, not revealing their sources and what they're doing with their money. So they've got this horrible rating. So they're being exposed, and the government's saying around the world, enough is enough. We're tired of playing this stupid game with you witnesses. We're tired of you lying through your teeth. The Australian Commission, all of those lies.
Country that said that we're not.
I think that's the UK that's it's in process. You know.
Yeah, so they can't have charitable status anymore.
But they're pissed off, and they're tired of the games, and they're tired of these clowns, and they're tired of their pedophilia. They're tired of them not saying they're sorry. They're arrogant, they're narcissists, and they think they're gods, and they act like gods, and they act like they're invincible. Like Toni Morris said, we ain't ever changing. You can kiss, you know, kind of like you can kiss our ass. You know, we're not ever changing. We're going to keep our status, you know, our disfellowshipping the way it is, and you know, that harsh punishment of that sort of thing. And it's just interesting. So anyway, we just wanted to talk about this today because we want to help people see it from another point of view. Sometimes if you can see these things through another organization, if you can see how Scientology works, if you can see how the Seventh-day Adventists work. See, Seventh-day Adventists, like I said, they've got a satellite, right? They do not even care. They've just got a few pilot churches here and there. They don't even care if people come to church. They really don't. And most of the groups we saw are very small, aren't they?
Yeah.
They're miniature. They can be 20, 15 people. But see, they've already got them hooked up. What do they care? They're money launderers. They're money makers. They've got them hooked up to 3ABN. They've got them hooked up to the internet, right?
And so apps for the JWs, you know, you just get on the app.
Yep.
and you're hooked up to them.
Yeah. And do they have first, second, third ties in the Venice, or is that somewhere else?
No, just they have you go in there and they have you, well, they want you to pay your 10%. That's pretty much, everybody knows they want 10%. But after that, they do one basket for this thing that they're doing in Africa, and another basket for the children's this, and another basket, and you keep on putting money
Yeah,
in.
children come around and collect the money
Yeah,
too, don't they?
yeah, they have the children do their dirty work.
We go in there and they say, okay, children, come on up front. It's so interesting. The kids come up front and they go, we're going to read you a story about Jesus, and the kids are all excited, or Moses, opening the Red Sea. And then they say, okay. And then they hand the kids a little basket, and the kid's like, okay.
Well, it's not in that order, okay. But anyway, you get the idea.
At the end, they're wandering around the whole congregation.
They're just so cute, and their basket, and you don't dare not.
You can't help them give them $1,
yeah,
or whatever change. If you got change,
something.
I'm digging for change.
And if you don't give them anything, they just stand there and look at you like.
Sometimes they just stare at you like this.
I know, like, aren't you? Something
and hell, I'll reach in and grab a 20 or something, because I don't have anything else. But people throwing money on the floor, and then the kids bring it all up front, and they say, good job, kids, good job. They pour it all in the basket.
And then maybe they'll have another offering that they take up for some building fund. And you just never know what they're going to ask money for. I think it's interesting that the witnesses never have to be accountable. The governing body and the top of the organization never explains where the money goes. I've worked for a lot of corporations, and they've always gave a breakdown of how much we made this month, how much we earned, how much we lost. You know what I mean? It was kind of a profit and loss, so that we could know if we're making money, if we need to work harder, we need to work smarter. We're losing money here on installation, so let's work on our installation and see if we can get it done faster and better and turn around. And there was always a way to measure. But I think it's interesting that Watchtower doesn't care what the slaves think, the good for nothing slaves. It's like, and they don't. We take the money and we do what we want with it. Yeah, and they really don't care about anything at all with regard to problems. They really don't. And we just talk about another organization. There's one called IBLT. It stands for something. I want to say the word international, but anyway, a Bible principle, whatever, church in Big Sandy, Texas. You just put IBLT and Big Sandy, Texas, and you'll find this big, huge organization there. They're on a 2,000-acre property that used to be called the Ambassador College Big Sandy, that got bought out by this company. So they run this Alert Academy, children that are coming from all around the world. It even says it's an international alert academy. Boys that are orphans, troubled kids, kids that have been in trouble, different ways. So that they're being sent there. And anyway, I just saw on the internet today that they got some sort of a Facebook fund that's through Microsoft. Anyway, they've raised $13 million for this organization. And they just pump it up using these kids. Well, anyway, they've been in lawsuit after lawsuit after lawsuit, different people suing them for all kinds of sexual, you name it, pedophilia and all assault, you name it, 19 cases. And anyway, they got out of it somehow because of statute of limitations. Then went down to Big Sandy, Texas, and then started the facility down there. And then recently a movie came out about the Duggars family, who were involved in their horrible treatment and sexual abuse. And oh my goodness, you can't believe all the things going on. And anyway, the guy, this interesting little report that when he got down to Big Sandy, he said that he's not sorry and not apologetic in any way about anything that has happened, except for one thing. And it's that, oh, I'm sorry to God that I didn't meditate more. He blames it all on that he didn't meditate more. So he's not sorry for the sexual assaults of him or his brother, or all the accusations and the pedophilia and all of it. Not sorry for any of it. He's just sorry because he didn't meditate more. There's no repentance. Anyway, the problem is it's all about money. And I see this money coming in for this group. Good and well, these boys, they look like they're being trained by military men. And these are young boys. Some of them look like 9, 10. Do you think so? Yeah. And being trained to be like military emergency type training, but it's militant. And then that this is also, this organization is a known cult. It says it right all over the internet. This is a cult. And so I don't know, you guys, it's like, it's always about the money.
And following men.
And following men. So, when you're asked to do something like don't gather together for 2 years, who are you really following? God because that's how
Right.
God said to do. So
According to the law, they could have returned after year one when all the other churches returned. And I asked my uncle, I said, that was beat over our head for years. So why didn't you return? He goes, well, to keep us safe.
what if that was not God's will?
Well, God's will
one
says,
year.
don't forsake. According to
Right.
them, you got to meet.
So who are you
gotta
going to obey?
So
The government, the witnesses, the governing body. Who are we going to be obedient to?
Yeah, that's right. Good point. And I remember when I was in there, they said that the government would try to stop us from preaching.
Yes.
And they said it would be like putting a finger in Jehovah's eyeball.
Yeah.
And Jehovah would come to the rescue and kill everybody.
Well,
right?
He didn't, did he?
He didn't. Well, Watchtower
they
complied.
Yeah, they did.
And they complied, during the pandemic.
Shame on them.
Pushing an agenda that they had no business pushing.
No.
And that's a personal decision, but they pushed it. And so who are they really working for? And so anyway, it's just something to consider. Pay attention. We want people to pay attention to what the Bible is saying. Do not put your trust in men. And Jesus said that.
And you have no salvation.
You end up in the pit. And it says if you don't get out from Babel, which is what Watchtower has become, a babbling bunch of men, it says that you're going to suffer in and with their destruction, especially when you're part of propping them up. And you witnesses are part of propping them up.
If you're
propping up false prophets, and you're unrepentant right along with them. So you are guilty. You know what?
An accomplice.
You're an accomplice. If you're out doing their bidding, if you've got a bad investment and you keep promoting the bad investment and keep lying for them and giving false deadlines for them, then you're just as guilty as they are. And it's time you own this, because we're in that time where there's no excuse anymore.
Yes.
Everything is all over the internet. Everybody's showing you. This new guy that's on there, he's showing facts. You got 6 screens of the Watchtower. You got all these things that are pumping out facts after facts after facts after facts of abuse, pedophilia, all sorts of things. I just can't list them all. You know what I mean?
I know, Dan, and just for the sake of you guys, anybody listening that's an ex-worldwider, my heart goes out to you, honestly, because, I know there's no place to go. I'm just beginning to start speaking out about it. Like I talked about the Duggar family and all that happened at the Big Sandy, Texas property. And I'm going to talk more about that later, as I promised the other day. But, I know that you don't feel supported, but, I'm glad at least that you're out and that you're not supporting their pedophilia, their sex offending, their mistreatment of women and children, because it is rampant in there. Nobody knows yet. I know it's hidden. I understand. But if you've been abused badly, sexually, I bet you have, many of you have, and no one's coming out. No, just beginning to come out. So stories will begin. But anyway, you guys, my heart goes out. I believe you. You've been through hell. I understand, and I can't wait for you to tell your story. And matter of fact, if there's anybody listening right now, and you want to tell your story, what happened to you, they're starting to come out of the woodwork right now. I'm getting to get calls, and a lot of stories are coming out. But if you want to tell your story ever on this show, or you just want to just tell me that so I can report on it, I will, and I will promise to not give your name out. But we got to get this out, because see, then other people can say, I don't want to be an accomplice by holding this information. I want to tell what's going on to protect other people from getting involved, and because people need to be validated so that they can get well. And so we have to validate each other. We have to support each other. We have to speak to what's wrong. We have to speak and say it so we can begin to change it. We don't speak it. We don't acknowledge it. We can't change it. So that's why I want to bring this up. So those of you who are worldwide or United Church of God, see, Worldwide Church of God is now a Christian kind of sort of organization. Everything that was worldwide went straight to United Church of God and all kinds of other offshoots. But mainly that's where they all went. They were told to go there if you want to keep the way that we've been going. And so that's where everybody's at. So if you're an ex-UCG, same thing. Please call me. Let's talk.
Yeah, and if you want to hear people that have been out for a while, people that have gotten the courage, to tell their story, you can go on 6 screens of the Watchtower. Mm-hmm. It's a network. Rick Fearon does the world news, and you'll hear him just bringing out facts boldly about the falsehood. Then you'll hear how people were done unjustly by the Watchtower. People that are hurting are getting healed there.
Yeah.
And so
first comes acknowledgement.
And
admitting what happened.
Yes.
That's step one.
And then you can heal.
Right.
But a lot of the people there have been out for a while, but now everybody's talking freely. Everybody,
Yeah,
kind of
I know.
reserved a little
cool.
bit, but now, man, everybody's
It's been a
talking
while.
freely, aren't they?
They are.
And powerfully, and this ain't
that'll
gonna
be
happen to me
worldwide.
no more.
That's gonna be for us too, you guys. I want to tell you something. Dan and I got to witness this. We got to witness people just being like something's got their
Frozen.
throat. Right. Even Dan was like that on his first show ever. He couldn't speak it. Nothing would come out. It's but deer in the headlights, nothing
Yeah.
coming out. And
Nervous.
anyway, yeah. And so even Dan, but then when he got free, then now we started on 6 screens and we started like, come on, you guys, surely you want to say something right now. Come on. And slowly but surely people started coming on and saying their
Getting
piece.
freer and freer and freer. Totally free.
And it's so cool because when all these people speaking, because everyone else that are coming out, validation to be allowed to speak too, and nothing's happening to any of them, not as far as that, like what we imagine. Well, I shouldn't say that, but some people are really going through hell right now. But we have to begin somewhere. So worldwiders, UCG, look, you guys, we got to start somewhere.
Right.
We got to tell our truth. We got to speak our truth. So Dan and I do Zoom meetings on here. And
we talk by phone if you want to just talk.
And if you want to do a Zoom meeting or you just want to talk on the phone and talk about it, either way. But if you want to tell your story anybody on a Zoom meeting, it's great. We've done several of really great people that have really been able to get free from telling a story. When Dan wrote his book, Eyewitness, the Shocking Insider Story of Jehovah's Witnesses, I remember he said, oh, just throw that away. No one's going to want to read it, Angela. It's stupid. No one's going to care about my stupid story, he said. And I'm like, no, Dan, no. This is a very good story and people are going to love it and they're going to get a lot out of it. And it has made a big difference. But who had helped the most in the beginning was Dan, because once he told his story and it was out, he cried.
Oh, yeah.
And the release, they use the word catharsis. I don't know what it even means, but anyway, it was a catharsis, apparently healing. Okay, that's what it means. To get it off his chest. I've said everything now. I put it all out there and now, take it or leave it, use what you want, but it's an incredible story. And many, many people have said how they love it and they read it twice even. I'm not kidding. And so we're trying to do a movie about it, by the way. We're working really hard. This is our third time to try this, but I think this time it's really going to happen.
I do too.
Yeah.
So anyway, guys, that's all we wanted to say today. We wanted you to think about that. Look at the comparison with Scientology, Seventh-day Adventists, with the AI that's going on in the Watchtower, and realize you don't need a middleman. You don't need man to worship between you and God. You don't need a mediator. You can go direct. Even Jesus said you could go direct. He says, I rent the veil. And so we can bow our head in simple prayer, and we can get just as much as, if you go to a church and you think this guy has got something more than you do. He does not.
No.
He's just the same as you. He might have been to academia. He might have been to, through schooling or something. He might think he knows more than you because he knows things that were taught in some damn seminary. But the Bible says spiritual things are understood spiritually. And the Bible says worship in spirit and truth.
An example of that is Paul in the Bible. Remember that, guys? He said he had to unlearn all his learning he got from all of his academies of Judaism. And he regretted. He had to undo all the learning and start over again. So again, like Dad said, spiritual things are understood spiritually. And guess what? It says Paul was taught by Jesus.
Yeah.
So
guys, we'll pray for those witnesses that are still in. And pray that they could still wake up. They're being hardwired right now is what's happening. They're being hardwired into a JW program, and it's going to get worse. Once they get the media centers put up around the world, it's going to be 24/7 JW broadcasting, around the clock programming. And so we pray that they wake up before they get fleeced too bad, before they lose more of what they have, more of the things they've worked hard to earn. And we see Watchtower setting up so many pay stations within the Jehovah's Witnesses. We have to pray for them. And we have to pray that when the organization comes toppling down, that it don't topple down on them, because that would be very sad. You know what I mean? Because they won't know where to go. If the organization crumbles, that's their God, that's their infrastructure, that's everything to them. So if that was just to come down, then that would be like oh my God, it would be panic, it'd be mayhem, it'd be.
I hate to prolong this, but
No, it's okay.
you know, Dan was being taught in Dan's book. He talks about this lady that was incredible. We call her Martha in the book. I don't want to give the name away, but anyway, Martha really helped Dan a lot. And one time she said to Dan, if they told you to wear brown, it was Dan's mentor, and if they told you to wear brown, would you? And he goes, well, yeah, okay, I guess I would. Well, what was the next one about the Bible? What if they took away your Bible? She said,
would you know God?
Would you know God? And Dan said, oh, they're not going to tell me to take, they're not going to make me take away they're not going to take away my Bible. That's ridiculous. But
yeah, she said, if they took away your Bible in jw.org, would you know God?
now what did you say?
No, I
I
wouldn't.
wouldn't.
I said at first, like, what are you talking about? Why are you asking me these questions?
What was the one where you said, oh my gosh, and you freaked out, kind of like,
I think it was the brown, because
Ah.
she said, if they told you to wear brown, would you wear brown? And I said, they're not going to tell me to
That's
wear
what it
brown.
was.
Why would they tell me to wear brown? She says, if governing body told you to wear brown, would you? And I said, holy shit, yes, I would, because they are God's mouthpiece on earth, right?
Channeled by God.
Yeah, we have to
through.
listen to every word they say. And right now, the reason it's getting dangerous is because they're telling the witnesses, we're going to tell you things to do that your mind may tell you that maybe you shouldn't do, but we want you to do it anyway.
Ugh.
They're getting dangerous.
So then, of course, the thought comes to your mind, if they tell you to drink Kool-Aid, I mean, you're going to wear a brown suit if they tell you to. What else would you do?
What if they tell you to give you your homes?
Right.
We want you to sign your homes over the Watchtower. See, they're under hypnosis right now, which means they're under the authority of a man-run AI system called jw.org.
Yes.
And they're not trying to hide it. They call themselves an internet connection. That's why they say jw.org. And so anyway, they're in deep trouble. The witnesses, the Jehovah's Witnesses, are in deep trouble. And I just pray it's not too late for them to get out before there's more calamity.
Yeah.
But anyway, we should probably wind this up. But we've appreciated you guys listening. We always appreciate your comments. We love your comments. We love responding to them. If I missed you or Angela missed you, we sometimes spend the weekend saying yes, thumbs up, little comments back. There's a lot of people to write to, but we appreciate every one of you. And
Yes,
we do. We love all you guys.
Yes, we do.
We're all brothers and sisters. And if you feel this video has helped you, pass it on, repost it, do whatever you want with it, cut pieces out of it, do whatever you want with it. But like the channel, let's get the algorithms bigger. It's growing. The channel's growing, which is good because it's moving out and getting in front of more and more people. I think just this last month, it was another 120, 30 people came on. And so that's really good.
And he
All right,
goes real quick too, it's Dan's book. It's on Amazon for, I think it's $1.99. Secret Brainwashing Techniques of Jehovah's Witnesses. I don't think it's on hard copy. I think you can only get it on digital version. This one, though, it's been out a long time. Eyewitness, a shocking insider story of Jehovah's Witnesses. It tells you how God got Dan out of there, about the miraculous story of meeting me and all the other gifts that he found out he didn't know he had, and just the way God got him out. It was very interesting how God did it, and it's very heartwarming. So if you feel like you need a little shot in the arm or something, also too, on a digital version, it's only $1.99, I think. But the book itself, I think it's $12.99. It's an Amazon thing. Anyway, we love you guys. If that would help, we just want you to know we're here to serve you, not try to sell you. That's what we're all about. We're here for serving you. If we could mail out books to you, we would, but you know how much it costs to mail out a book? First of all, you got to pay something like $5 per book. Then you got to mail it out. And so it ends up being ridiculous, $10 to mail out a book. So it's like, just forget it. Just go ahead and order it for the $2 more. And, I don't have all the horrible hassles of the whole thing. Or you can just
order for $2.
Yeah, or get the digital version.
Yeah.
Or print, you can just print it out yourself once you do that. So anyway, we love you. We're here to serve you. And we really wish you the very best. And just know that love is the most important thing. Love each other, love God, be in service to man, and just love. And you're good. Okay.
That's right.
Make it simple. Okay?
Find your gifts.
Yep.
Okay.
All right.
Thanks so much.
Bye-bye.